we're remembering what happens, right? So the sun goes down over there, the moon rises over there, goes like this. All right, so sacred hoop of stars. They're so beautiful. I never get to do winter stargazing with people. We're gonna have to work that out one of these days. All right, so Orion's belt. Okay, now everybody's always like, all times of year in summer, is that Orion's belt? Is that Orion's belt? Winter stars we're talking about. So the scientists call it the winter hexagram, and but the Lakota call it the sacred hoop. So I'm going to go there. So the 3 stars of Orion's belt, right? Everybody kind of have some familiarity with that. And then I was just tripping on that today, thinking about it, like the serpent Milky Way kind of biting the tail, like how that's a belt in a way. I actually wore a belt today just because I was like remembering that, and I was just thinking about like Orion in almost every culture. That's like, if there's one constellation that's the kind of human, you know, whether it's hunter, herder, journeyer, whatever it is, it's like that's the human one. And I was like, how do we recognize Orion but by the belt? And so that somehow being a belted being is really significant in this. So I don't know, I just offer that out. All right, so you got the 3 stars, and at midnight, this is gonna be pretty much like you're facing south, right? So you'll see the 3 stars of Orion's belt, and then just a ways below, there's a pretty bright star, and that's called Rigel, and that's like the ankle of Orion, okay? And then just about the same distance above Orion's belt is another star called Betelgeuse. That's the first time I've ever said that, and people didn't go like, ha! Okay, Betelgeuse, okay. You must be tired tonight, yeah. Okay, so, which is like one of the shoulders of Orion. Okay, so that one's kind of close-ish to the middle, but not really, but it's kind of like within the sacred hoop, okay? So you've got Orion's belt and the ankle one, so that's kind of a part of the sacred hoop, okay? Then you go up here, and you've got like a V of stars with a really bright red one at the tip, and that's Aldebaran, which is the eye of Taurus the bull, okay? And then about that far above it, you're gonna see a little fuzz of stars, and that's the Pleiades. And that's kind of like the shoulders of the bull. And then above that, you're gonna see kind of a bright star that's Capella, the goat star. And then directly over Orion, you're going to see 2 bright stars, and those are the Gemini twins. So definitely about the Gemini twins. And then over here, there's a little dog that's a kind of a pretty bright star, and there's one other next to it. It's like a hot dog. And then down here is a crazy bright star, the brightest star that you will see, and that's Sirius, the dog star. And so you can see they just kind of go like that, yeah? Now, the Gemini twins, how many of you have been out with me at the Women's Herbal Symposium or somewhere, and you know what I mean by the Gemini twins, all right? So the Gemini twins, so there are 2 bright stars that are the heads of the twins. And so the twin on this side is kind of like bow-legged. It's kind of standing here like this. And then the twin on this side, and they're holding hands because they love each other. Okay, the twin on this side, they're holding hands. So the twin on this side is kind of like me, is like a little sassy-booted kind of a person. And so it's kind of like more long-waisted, and then it's got this little pointy boot. And that little pointy boot is pointing right to the spot where the path of the planets and the Milky Way cross. So it's kind of like... And so that sacred hoop in particular is surrounded by the Gemini twins above and Orion below, and then Taurus the bull kind of in from the side. And so if you go out and notice, and especially because the moon's going to be full, it will have a tendency to drown out a lot of the other stars. And so you should really be able to see, you know, we're not talking perfect circle here because that would be so boring. It's the sacred hoop, right? So, but you'll be able to see just from a bright stars, it'll be kind of like about that big if you move your arm and your body. Now, just for good measure, let me describe, even though you won't necessarily be able to see them because the sun is there, but let me describe who's holding down the center of the galaxy, because it's kind of amazing and interesting too. So, remember I said there's like this serpent biting its tail and the kind of the womb of the Milky Way goddess, if you will? So, right below that is the scorpion with the little stinger tail right at the root. of that tree and of the galaxy. And then over here is the Sagittarius, the archer, right? So it's like that half human, half horse, like shooting a flaming arrow into the center of the galaxy. And then right above them, especially above the Scorpion, like right here, like receiving from the womb of the Milky Way goddess, is the serpent bearer Healer, which is the 13th zodiac constellation. But they're like, no, 12 is so much better. Let's just leave out the Healer, right? And so here's this like huge Healer with like a serpent in each arm. Right here where the serpent Milky Way mouth bites the tail. Yeah? Wow. So that's who's holding down the center of the galaxy. So when you're doing all of this, just remember that. It's like whether you can see them or not, the serpent bearer's got your back. The scorpion's down there in the deep. The flaming archer is just like...
What's the name of the serpent bearer?
Ophiuchus, or Asclepius. But I think it much more anciently, because the stories we hear about the constellations are like so, right, they're so like modern, really. I mean, they're so like, oh yeah, now they're all like dudes and it's a Greek story and there's a big storyline and this person must be punished, and it's like the stars, I mean, people have been watching the stars for hundreds of thousands of years, right? And so, you know, if you go back in time, you're going to see like, you know, statues of women in Crete with serpents and bare-chested holding, you know, serpents in their arms and skirts and dancing that dance. And what I've really seen, I mean, just by looking at the serpent bearer Healer, I mean, it's so a midwife kind of an energy. I mean, it's so a receiving what's being born, you know, onto the path of the journey of the planets. But it's a new path, it's a new era, and it's a new time that we're birthing in our bodies. Like, how fun is that? We get to be the ones to live this, to find our way, to do something that's never been done before, and to leave this kind of way of living and move into another kind of way of living. And to really shift the eras and how we embody and what it means to be human, and down to the very energy that's in our body.
The incredible, intellectually stimulating, and absolutely wonderful Stargazer Li.